feel ground beneath your feet. Deep breath in and out. Keep deep breathing, feeling where you are in this place, in this room, the atmosphere around you. It's been wonderful having you join us this afternoon on the Sunset Safari. We'll be live again tomorrow morning, bright and early, followed by the All Blacks versus Springboks rugby, which I'm super excited about. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for your enthusiasm. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Until then, have a beautiful Friday further. Good night and goodbye. A very warm welcome everybody to this afternoon's Sunset Safari, and I tell you what, we have got a spectacular way to start it off for you here at Sandringham. We have found the Black Dam Pride that we were looking for last night and this morning. So how about that to start it off? On camera I have got Panda with me. I of course have the wonderful Tony Park joining us as well. Don't forget we are fireside chatting later this evening at 7 o'clock. How are you doing, Tony?
Very well, thanks. What a great start to the drive.
Yeah,
it doesn't get any better than this.
Absolutely. So let's send you back across to the Lions. Don't forget we are not the only ones out. We have got our feeds out in the Mara, Amakala, and in the Sabi Sands as well, so do say hello to everybody. They're trying to work out exactly how many we've got here. They have split, but there is Pasambwadi. You can see him just next to the young male there on the right. You can see his whiter fur just sticking out of the grass. Actually, you had a call earlier that some lions had been seen on the other side of the reserve by one of the other reserves next door, so we were going to head up there, but on our way out this morning we picked up some quite fresh tracks of these were the lions we were looking for, so we thought, well, we'll take the road this afternoon and check the closest water source, which is Malawan Dam. Yeah, so we're very close to Malawan Dam, and just as we pulled in we saw two of them disappearing over the dam wall. They'd obviously come in for a drink, and they've found themselves a nice comfortable spot in the shade in this little donga leading off from the dam. But what a fantastic way to start. We're going to stay here for a little bit, see if we get some activity. Hopefully some of them come down for a drink whilst we're here, but let's send you over to Eric for an official good afternoon from the Sabi Sands.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to another Sunset Safari, where you are now with us here in the Sabi Sands on Chitwa. We are watching a beautiful, beautiful male elephant feeding on what looks like a whole lot of nothing, but it is something there. So, hello everyone, my name is Eric, joined by Gert, who is on camera, and this afternoon, well, we're off to a great start. We found ourselves our first subject, a big male elephant. who is actually feeding on what looks like a either silver cluster leaf or it is a bush willow. But there you can see him lifting it up to his mouth. He's been pushing this poor tree around actually, and it's so scrumptious he's even drooling. But we're going to send you over to Ralph to say good afternoon and find out what his plans are.
Hello everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to a lovely sunny afternoon in the Amakhala Game Reserve down in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten. Up there is Morgan Mulholland. Yeah, and you can see it's warm. He's got his chicken wings out, so we're in. It's nice and warm. Now the plan for us today is we're going to go look for that aardvark again. It's the last live drive for this stint, and this aardvark has been seen pretty much every day. Why wouldn't you? I mean, who gets to see aardvark like that? But I'm skeptical. Morgan reckons he's going to be out. I think because it's a bit warmer today, maybe he won't be. Well, there's one way to find out, and that's to head into the same area that he's been hanging out and see if he pops out. He's going to come say cheers, and maybe we'll give him a name. We've been floating a few ideas. We've got Frank, we've got Dale, we had Theodore, I think from James. But yeah, I'm stuck with Frank or Dale. But let's see. Anyway, let's go and see if we can find him. And while we do that and get into the area, off you go to David Getu in the Mara.
Hello, and a very warm jumbo from the Masai Mara of Kenya. This morning, I had a viewer who was interested in finding out how our Verox eagle owl is doing, and that is where I am right now. And my name is David. A very warm jumbo to all of you, and a very warm welcome to our sunset safari in the Masai Mara of Kenya. Now, if you look carefully there, you can see that particular owl we've been looking at on such warm day in the Masai Mara of 80 degrees Fahrenheit or about 26 degrees Celsius. She just went slightly down, but now she got 2 chicks and they have been here. You can see her popping her head slowly up, and she has made her nest on an East African greenheart tree. These owls love wooded areas, and no wonder she is where she is. And she got 2 chicks. Oscar, Jumbo, back to you from myself, Big James, or the Owls family. Asante sana, wonderful to hear your name, Oscar. And we just want to hope and see if she's going to put her head much higher. She had like the whole neck and head out of the nest. If you look carefully, you can just see the tip of the head. And I'm imagining the chicks could be having a nap and maybe they're well fed. Very solid nest she got. And they always will breed in such wooded areas. And I would say as much as they are more nocturnal birds than diurnal, these owls are thriving. We don't have any concerns of these owls, like the ground hornbills. Their numbers are doing very well. Now, if you look, you can see that's the head now. She just popped her head up. And with her are 2 chicks. This is my second, I would say, hatchling I've seen of Varrock's owls in all my career. I saw one in Serengeti in Tanzania, and this is my second one. Again, because in the areas they will breed, it's very thick. George, you are saying asante sana for me and James visiting the nest. George, you are very welcome, and very welcome, I would say, karibu sana. So that is the mother, or rather the female. She's just turning her head a little bit. And George, I'm sure, there she goes, even looking much better than before. George, I guess you know of all the owls family we have in the whole world, this is the only owl that got pink eyelids.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
My full name is Mpomu Tusitikani. Best part of my job is coming to see nature. Worst part of my job is logging. That's the worst thing ever, because you have to log amount of footage. You sit in front of that computer and yeah, you think of deleting the footage, but no, they need the footage. If I went to camel, probably a soccer player. I know some people don't believe me, but I'm very good, and I'm very fast.
And that's it for this morning's drive.
She's just got an impala, everybody.
And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
Giraffe drooling, but I think it's not something that we see all the time. Who else has drooled? Buffalo. I've seen buffalo drooling as well, and they chew so much food they actually start to see the foam on the side of their mouths, and then all of a sudden this liquid starts falling from their mouths. But you'll find with giraffe, they drool because they've maybe eaten a couple of kgs too much of, or maybe not kgs, a couple of grams too much of a sweet thorn. And in a sweet thorn there are a lot of tannins in the leaves, and they've got these little pumps, sort of like saliva glands in their mouth, that actually help wash their mouth out and expel all of this tannin. And I think that's exactly what's happened here with this big boy. Is he's eaten a tree that's got lots of tannins in it. Anyway, we're going to send you over to the black dam pride, who I hope is not drooling, and if they are drooling, most likely drooling in their sleep.
No drooling lions here that we have noticed thus far, but as you said, they can and do often during confrontation or stresses. Oh, that's a nice yawn. No, definitely no drool in there from this young boy. Beautiful mane that's beginning to come. If he's looking for shade, or if we're going to be lucky enough, just they're on one side of us and the water is on the opposite side. So we'll keep an eye just in case anybody comes down for a drink, but I think we disturbed some of these. Well, we found them as they were coming back from having a drink, but we'll keep an eye on them. Yeah, he might be coming to the water. He's sort of moving behind us, so Panda's going to have to do some yoga to keep up with him in the back, but we'll reposition if we need to. But of course I'm very excited here. This is the first time that I have officially seen these lions. I bumped into them once before, just randomly. You stopped right behind that tree. You've got to love wildlife, haven't you? It's just reverse a touch. He's sitting very regally there. Just make sure we don't fall off the damn wall. Let me know when it just goes to the back here, Panda. There we go. Just looking for a little bit of peace and quiet. Catherine, indeed, a carpet of cats. I've not heard them described as that before, but why not? It does look, well, it is what it looks like down there. We were just commenting about how good the camouflage is this time of year, with that orange colour just matches the dry grass perfectly during this dry season, which of course is peak hunting season if you are a lion. A lot of the animals, the herbivores, of course, under nutritional stress, not as fast as they would be, taking unnecessary risks, having to come down for water, not getting enough moisture from what they are eating. So this is a good time to be a lion during the dry season. But all the dry grass means harder to hide, but when you're the same colour as dead grass, that makes a little bit of a difference. Of course, it will be a little bit harder for our white lion here. That's one of the reasons that leucistic animals, because that's what we're looking at, a leucistic lion, it's a recessive gene, not a complete absence of melanin, but far less melanin than normal. It's one of the reasons that we don't see so many, and natural selection generally doesn't see us have many of these white animals, because they are much more easy for prey animals in order to pick them out. But you do get leucism in a variety of mammals and birds. I've seen leucistic eland before, I've seen a leucistic bushbuck, a leucistic kudu, an impala. And then of course in birds as well, you get the pale morph Wahlbergs, but you get the, there are leucistic versions of cuckoos that I know have been seen. Tony, have you come across any white lions on your travels before?
Over towards the Kalahari a couple of weeks ago, I saw a white springbok out of interest.
Oh wow, okay.
Has some worries. Probably only the second or third time in 30 years that I've seen white lion. There's generally one or two in the Kruger. There's one in the Kruger at the moment, Casper.
Yeah.
So it's a very special sighting every time you see one, for sure.
No, definitely.
They've also been their downfall, because in the past people have taken them from the wild to breed for hunting, which is a very terrible thing.
Yes, unfortunately, it's not always good to stick out from the crowd in that
don't see
regard.
any more of that. Yeah.
No, let's hope not. Jared, sorry, I heard the question. I didn't quite pick up the name of the sender. Would you mind repeating for me, please? Lyra. You're asking whether young male lions choose to leave, or know it's time to leave the pride, or whether they are kicked out, for want of a better word. It's generally the latter, but it's nature's way of dealing with the problem. This lion is, I would suggest, rather old to still be hanging out with the pride. Of course, I don't know the dynamics here very well, so it's hard for me to comment on what happens between the pride. I know there's around about 23 individuals here, but they're often split up and found in different parts of the reserve. I know for a fact that there's 3 females somewhere right way up in the northeastern corner this afternoon. We've counted at least 13 lions here, so I would imagine that still leaves a few unaccounted for. But generally speaking, it is the role of the dominant male, more often than not the father of those young males, who will remove the youngster. As they start coming into sexual maturity, he will become aggressive towards them and he will chase them out. The mothers will also potentially have something to do with it. A little bit harder for them because of course they aren't quite the same size as a 3.5, 4-year-old male lion. But normally it is the dominant male's job to chase off the young male before he becomes a threat, and it's one of nature's ways of dealing with the potential issue of inbreeding and things like that. So it causes the young male to move out. Of course, he's not going to be big enough and strong enough or confident enough, particularly if he's on his own, to then hold his own territory. He's probably going to have to be nomadic for a couple of years, which is the norm, certainly, and it's not unusual for 2 individual, unrelated male lions who are just starting their journey to meet up and form a very, very strong bond that might as well be as thick as blood. They become almost like blood brothers, even though they're unrelated, and they'll spend the rest of their lives together. It just makes more sense to have some assistance to potentially overthrow another male or coalition of males, and be far better off, or far better suited to hold that territory for a longer period of time and benefit from the mating opportunities that comes with it. And it's obviously therefore a great way to diversify the species by sending these young males to new areas. They take over prides, father their own cubs, and that keeps the species well. Jackie, you're right, he does have a very thick neck. He is a very good looking boy, I have to say. It'd be interesting to know whether his mane will darken much. It's still quite, I don't see a great difference in colour yet. I'm not sure of the lineage of these. I have seen some of the black dam males, of course, in the Sabi Sands and also in Thorny Bush over the years. Whether or not the 2 are actually related, I'm sure some of our regular viewers would be able to tell me. But he's still got quite a reddish coloured mane. But he's going to be a big boy, this one, certainly. I haven't seen the big male here, assuming there is another big male panda. Have you seen the other? Has he got a darker mane? Or?
Yes, a little bit darker mane.
A little bit of dark, yeah. So interesting to see, assuming that is the father, whether he develops that as he gets a little bit older. But still got another year or 2 before that mane is fully grown. But yeah, what a fantastic start to the afternoon.
For years, we've shared virtual wildlife. Now, let's experience it for real. I'm Lauren Arthur, and I'd love to show you my amazing home here in the Greater Kruger of South Africa. This 5-night journey is an exclusive connection to my piece of untamed Africa. I live here in these gorgeous landscapes surrounded by epic wildlife. The wild is calling, so come and join me.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My name is Takudzwa Panda Msesani. My scariest moment is when it happened twice. The other time I was with Cedric and the other time I was with Steve. And all those times, it was a black mamba. My favorite meal in camp is gonna be burger and chips.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour, all moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
Out here, every wild moment counts, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing.
Incredible.
Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and early access to travel offers. The best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family. Helping just to move the dirt out of the way. A little bit of a way off. Now Judy H once again is always contributing, and we're very grateful for that. She asked me a question on X, and here's the answer for you, Judy H. She asked me in French, so I'm going to attempt to respond in French as well. Mais pour Judy H, excuse-moi pour mes erreurs en français, parce que je parlais pas, je exercice pas beaucoup, mais le nom pour le Aardvark ou le traduit pour le Aardvark en français, c'est vrai, c'est le nom latin, mais plus populaire avec le touriste français, c'est le cochon de terre. Et en fait, pour moi, c'est le nom... oui, c'est comme ça. Voilà. So, Morgan says that's exactly how you would have said it. So, she wanted to know in French if they call the Aardvark the Latin name, which I find very difficult to pronounce. So... they do indeed call it. A lot of the French call the African animals by the French name, like Autosion for bat-eared fox, which is also the Latin name. But in the case of a lot of the animals, there is also a more popular French name, and in this case, Aardvark, they call it cochon de terre, or du terre, which means the pig of the earth, which is pretty much the direct translation of Aardvark. Very similar, and I prefer that name as well. So the cochon de terre, the pig of the earth. And I also said, excuse me for my French, I don't practice very much. Looks like he's been sticking his nose into the ground. Leo, I wish it was just me, but I mean, we were told about this chap by the guides that have started working out of these new lodges here in this area, because this is a newly acquired piece of land that was adjoining to Amakhala, and it's opened up a massive new area. That's where the elephants have moved into. They've been hammering the aloes and also getting into a lot of the prickly pears, because previously there was some general game here. There was some mountain zebra. I think there was some impala. There were some springbok, mainly warthogs. And obviously there would have been aardvark roaming around too. But there wouldn't have been the amount of game drives moving through here. Previously, it was a training school that were running off of this property owned by another Hollander or Nederlander. But now it has been acquired by Amakhala, so it's opened up to the main reserve, and a lot of the animals obviously moved in here. And I don't know, it just seems like there's a whole lot more going on up here than there was previously, because I worked at this training college, and yeah, I think, you know, sometimes you have an individual of a particular species that suddenly makes an appearance and is as relaxed as this one. So I think we've just got to profit as much as possible, because we don't know when this guy's going to disappear and when we'll see him again. So that's what we're going to do. and we're going to stay right here with this Aardvark. And while we do that and see what else he gets up to, let's see what Eric is up to.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a brown-headed parrot here. And he seems to be feeding on all the pods here on the red bush willow. He could be here for a very long time. See how quick he uses his foot there to grab the pod. His sharp beak to pry it open. Yes. And oh, here we go again. Hold, pry open. Doesn't appreciate the commentary. It's crazy how they're able to still do this and balance on one foot. Very cool. Obviously, earlier in the week I did say that you can make tea out of these pods, but you have to remove the seeds. So if you do remove the seeds, leave the seeds on the stoop for the parrots to come and eat them. Because if you do not remove the seeds, they have the ability to induce hiccups. But obviously for them, they don't mind. I don't think they'll get hiccups on this. For them, this is a food source. Charlie, no, not these parrots. These parrots are very similar to like a lovebird in a sense. They don't have that ability to mimic, but I won't say that too loud. I don't want to offend this parrot. Or maybe he's already heard. Very cool though. They are acrobats, these guys. The way that they just maneuver themselves around these branches. Very cool there. I don't know where the others are. You usually see them in pairs. They are monogamous. They do pair for life. They make nests in the hollows of trees. And I mean, usually they'll pretty much live in the same tree as well, whether they are nesting or not. Not too sure where this other one's mate is. Now, this is going to make things interesting. Moonbeam Smith, Chivalry Timbers. I don't think so, because there's no. I mean, the ocean is close by. I wouldn't say close by. The ocean is quite a distance from here, so I wouldn't say that there are pirates close by. But you never know. A pirate could have got stranded. Got stranded and is now trying to find his way back to the ocean. How far? Let's actually see. The nearest point, the nearest bit of ocean is 160 kilometers away, and that is in Botswana. Not Botswana, no. Mozambique. This is just northeast of Maputo, 162 kilometers away from us. That's as the crow flies. So this parrot, if it's come off the shoulder of a pirate, it's flown very, very, very far. But we're now going to send you about 60 kilometers as the crow flies back to the Black Dam Pride with Ben and Tony.
Coming up here now. No parrots or pirates here, but we still have our lines. We're still with this young male. He's been having a little bit of a clean, doing that lovely way that even the lions do, where they lick their paws and give their face a little bit of a scrape. But looks like he's settling down, but he's got a nice spot there. I think he wanted a bit more peace and quiet away from the rest of the group in the shade of this, looks like a nice big tamboti tree. And we're hoping that he's, oh bless you, we're hoping that he's going to come and have a drink at some point. But I forgot to mention a very important piece of information when we introduced, I was so excited to have Tony here, that I completely forgot to remind everybody that this is Panda's last drive. Panda, we are going to miss you. It's been wonderful working with you. And Panda was just saying on his first drive here at Sandringham he managed to find these lions. And we've got them again on his last drive, so a nice little bit of closure for Panda's tenure here. So I'm sure you'll all join me in wishing him all the best, and I'm sure we'll all keep in contact with him. But yeah, nice way to finish, Panda, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
We're also kind of hoping that maybe some of the others are going to get a case of FOMO and come up and see what's happening up here. We come down off the dam wall just to get a slightly straighter view of him. You know, from a photographic perspective, it's always a good idea to try and get at eye level with the animal. It looks like more natural when you get the photograph. So if he was to pop his head up again, we're actually very nicely positioned. We're very much looking down on the rest of the pride. They're in that little sort of drainage line adjacent to the dam here. But we'll go and check in on them very, very shortly and see if there's been any movement. It doesn't look like he's had much to eat, but I had a good scan of what I could see of the, as Catherine said, the carpet of lions that we had down there. And one or two of the youngsters did seem to have quite swollen bellies, so I wonder if they did get something small last night, an impala or a warthog or something similar, but couldn't really see any evidence on the adults of excessive feeding. But let's send you back to the Aardvark again. I can't believe I'm saying it. Let's send you back to the Aardvark that we've been seeing regularly. When could you say that?
So this Aardvark's getting stuck into this hole. I think it might be ants that he's onto, because he came out a minute ago and I was looking at him through the binoculars. It looks like he's got it's either termites or ants, but my money's on ants. And they were attacking him all over his ears. So he was scratching all over the place. He was scratching his belly, he was scratching his ears, and he was even rolling around on his back. It was quite entertaining. So I think he may do it again, because I'm pretty sure with his nose now back in that burrow, they're probably climbing all over him and attacking him once more with the attack that he's doing on their burrow. So they're trying to defend it, but yes, wonderful to watch. Here he comes, getting rid of some of the dirt. Front and back legs working. Their ears are flicking backwards and forwards. I think they're attacking him again. So Pat, the birds that are out, I did see a little African pipit, and there is a southern ant-eating chat. So as the name suggests, an ant-eating chat will definitely want to eat some of what this aardvark is kicking out, and the pipits probably as well. So yes, I'm sure it's most likely they're coming to benefit off this chap that's digging these little insects out of their burrow and their nest. So ever the opportunists, I'm just hoping that we get to see that roll around again. It's coming because I'm sure those ants are biting him all over now. Him, her, we're still not quite sure. So dark mane lover, yeah, paws and claws. That is it. Excellent for a nice Sunday afternoon and the sunset safari. Great way to end the weekend. And I couldn't ask for a better last live drive, to be sitting here with an Aardvark for who knows how much longer. It could be the rest of the drive. And if you want to come and see this Aardvark, I think you better make plans and make bookings here on the Amakhala Game Reserve, because this is seen now every day in the afternoon. So book into one of the local lodges and tell the guide you want to see Frank the Aardvark. That's what I think we're going to dub him. He's ours to name. Are we going with that, Morgan? Frank, yeah. And that's with the capital K, Frank. He's getting right into that burrow, and he's going to come out any second now and roll around, I reckon. So there we go. Let's just see here, because he's scratching again. I think he might roll on his back now. Let's just see. He's trying to get rid of it on his ears, scratching behind his ears. We had it when we weren't live. Let's just see. He might do it again now. But regardless, I'm sure we're going to show you either way of what we will look. There he goes, scratching in. Trying to get rid of these biting insects, the same ones that he's feeding on. They're trying to fight back. Having a good old scratch. I would hate it if they get... There he goes, now rolling on his back. He's doing a double roll. Look at that, that's so awesome. They must be attacking him all over, on his back, on his belly, behind his ears. I hope they don't get in his ears. So, there you go, he's going again. There he goes, look at that. I think he was also enjoying a bit of a suntan at the same time. Oh, off he goes. I think he's had enough of those guys. Oh, he's going to do a little roly-poly, no? And they're still biting him, shame.
This unfolds in front of you.
greatest wildlife spectacle on planet Earth. We'll see you there.
And we'll head you on over to the Mara.
Well, I followed this particular family of elephants, and I think last night I had the same family, and not very far from where we are. Now, these families are confusing me from last night and this morning, because I want to identify one herd that I'm going to be calling the governor's herd, or the governor's elephants. I was talking to the camp manager earlier today, and he told me there's a particular family of elephants that will always go through the camp, and the herd consists of about 14 members. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, these ones are 9. What I had in the morning was 7. The camp manager told me of 14. But at the end of the day, I'll identify one that I'll call the governor's elephants, or the governor's herd of elephants. Now, talking of governors, that's the camp we are staying in. A pretty cool camp, one of the iconic or oldest camps in the Masai Mara. Very, very good for couples, singles, or family setups. They got family tents. And our coming back to the Masai Mara was made possible by the Narok County government. And to you, government, Asante Sana. Asante Sana translates to thank you very much. Now, the small little tiny baby here James is showing you is what I guess to be about a month old. Of course, maybe now today, a month and 1 day. Laurie, very good question. And you're asking whether there are times, elephant size would intimidate us, and especially myself. Laurie, I don't think so. What I have learned, elephants are very clever animals. That one we know. And Laurie, unless you come on your way, there's always no issues between us and them. Sometimes you have seen them come very, very close to the vehicle. My personal experience is stay still, don't move, be calm, and don't try to either shout or move your body or change the look of the vehicle to look different. They'll just come. Sometimes they pull the grass and go away. Laurie, I had an incident one time on safari where an elephant thought, I'm sure it knew it was a car. The back of the car where he had the spare tires, it was a tree trunk, and she did a bit of rub on her body, on her abdomen. And I thought that was very strange because, it was a male and he shook the whole vehicle. Trunk up, telling us good luck. We'll see what that good luck might be. That was a couple of seconds. Trunk up, David and James. Good luck to you guys. Hopefully not the rains. Hopefully it'll be good luck for the lions. Didn't see any this morning. Hoping to see some this afternoon. I'm thinking today of looking for the either Marsh Pride or the Topi boys. Julian, you're talking of that small little baby. And Julian, if I'm not wrong, today that baby is 1 month and 1 day, because yesterday said she was 1 day, but she is tiny, tiny, tiny. And no wonder the mother was keeping her very, very close. You can see Julian there, the wind is picking up. But again, I don't think we have any chance of rain for today. So that baby you see there, that's the bigger one that kept staying very close to the small one. And I thought either they could have been related or they were first cousins. So they have separated the 9 of them. So now we got, I think, 5 on one side and 4 on the other side, or 4 here, 5 the other way. So let me see if this Ellies will reunite, as that one is defecating there and doing a bit of manuring to the savannah. Let's find out how Ben is doing with his lions.
Thanks, David. Always nice to spend time with little baby elephants, but we are still with the incredibly relaxed, currently at least, Black Dam Pride. You can see this one. I don't think I've ever seen a more relaxed lion than we have in front of us at the moment, but it's not uncommon. You can see quite a few of them lying on their backs with their legs wide open like that, but they do that to try and help with thermoregulation. So you can see the fur is a lot whiter on the underside, which helps to reflect back some of the light from the sun. And also remember that fur is a little bit thinner and a little bit lighter in terms of weight and density on the undersides as well. So it's just to try and let some of the heat escape. It hasn't been super hot today, but it's probably been up in the low 30s, although there is still a chance of some thunderstorms. So they say this evening around about 8 o'clock. I'll believe it when I see it, because there's just 1 or 2 wispy clouds in the sky at the moment. It certainly doesn't look, feel or smell like rain, but we of course are all willing for the rain to return. The bush is very dry at the moment, and we were kind of hoping for a little bit of action here. I didn't see it, but apparently a little unsuspecting grey daker crossed across the donga there a little bit further down. But I think it looks as if he got away with it. Cat fan, you say it is a sea of tails, perhaps, and something else? I didn't quite catch all of it, Jared, sorry, but yes, we've got carpets of cats and oceans of ocelots. No, that doesn't quite work, does it? Oh, a little bit of activity on the left. A sea of flicking tails, that's quite difficult to say. But I think probably what we're going to do after you leave us now, we have not seen a great deal of activity here. We thought maybe this young male was going to come for a drink, but he's also plonked himself down again. So we might do a little loop along the drainage line, see if we can find anything else, pop back again in about half an hour, and hopefully we'll catch them as they just start to get a little bit more active. What is it now, 4:20? Yeah, another half an hour, 45 minutes. Hopefully when the temperature starts to drop, we'll see some activity. So a lot of them look as if they didn't eat much last night, if at all. And there is a nice little bit of a breeze blowing, which could be carrying some interesting scents on the wind for them. They've popped their heads up once or twice in conjunction with a gust of wind. But the wind is blowing towards, well, from them towards the water. It would be more interesting, I think, if it was blowing the other way, because since we've been sat here, we have seen a herd of impala, and we've seen some inyala also come down and have a drink, but the lions here are lying on the other side of the dam wall, so no way they would have seen them, and the wind is blowing in the opposite direction. But it's probably a good time for me to remind you as well, don't forget that this evening, almost immediately after drive, or an hour later at 7 o'clock, Tony Park and myself will be engaging in a little bit of fun chit-chat around the fire, the fireside chat. Tony's going to tell us more about his book, his latest book, and his many other books, how you can get hold of them, what they're all about, some of his history, and how he goes about writing these novels, which will be very, very interesting. So please do tune in. We won't give anything, or we won't give too much away about the books, so Tony, we must promise not to do that. But very much looking forward to having a good chat, and I'm sure our listeners are equally excited. You said you've done a book with sort of, not exactly focusing, but discussing the conservation initiative of lions and things in the past?
Yeah, well, across the 23 novels, all set in Southern Africa and East Africa, lions do come up, of course, in the course of the stories. I did a book called Scent of Fear about 8 or 9 years ago, which is about the use of tracker dogs in the Kruger Park and the Sabi Sands and anti-poaching roles. But that book also highlights some of the problems facing lions, such as the illegal trade in lion bones. And on a more positive note, I did a book set in Namibia called An Empty Coast, which looks at the plight of the desert lions, which had just about got extinct about 30 years ago, around the time that I first started coming to Africa. But through intensive conservation management, researchers working with lodges and conservationists in Namibia, they've brought those desert lion numbers back up again from the brink of extinction. So, yeah, I like to look for positives in the books that I write as well, and good news stories as well.
Absolutely. So there you go, everybody. If you want to catch up with some of Tony's experiences with the lions, go have a read.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
My name is Takudzwa Panda Nsesani. I really want to film an Aardvark, and it has been my goal. I'll be just keeping my eyes open. The worst driver is James. He's driving, yeah. You gotta be holding on back in there, yeah? Like in bumps, and I mean, it happens when, these things happens when you're actually going for animals usually. But then, yeah, he's driving, yeah, you gotta put your seatbelt.
Real, you say the best kind of roadblock? Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls.
Every month, something wild lands in your inbox. From rare sightings and behind-the-scenes secrets to expert stories, seasonal changes, and exclusive travel opportunities, the Wild Earth Journal is your free monthly mailer, packed with the magic of the wild straight from the field. It's fun, it's free, it's full of surprises. Sign up now on the Wild Earth website.
A hammercorp catch a fish almost as big as its body, trying so very hard to actually swallow this thing. I don't know how he managed to do it. We moved on before it could swallow it, but yeah, I don't quite know how it managed, but I'm pretty sure it managed to finish whatever it was. Molly, no. Their eggs are probably average, pretty an average size egg for a bird of that size. You know, they're not unusually large. I think they just like a big nest. I think, you know, every now and then when there's a bit of wind or a storm, bits of their nests do fall apart, or there may be a little bit of a hole somewhere where water's getting in. So I think that's why they tend to kind of redo quite a lot of the nest. But also, I mean, wood. Some woods don't always stay hard. Sometimes over time they actually start to get softer and softer and softer, and that's where little kinks probably in the nest can potentially come about. I think this one is so hot, it's just trying to enjoy the nice cool water here, soaking its toes. Maybe even having a little bit of a nap. Jalebi, absolutely. Hammerkops are very, very cool. And you don't often get them like this. They are sometimes very, very, very skittish animals. They usually, upon seeing the vehicle, sometimes tend to fly away. Well, here they would feed on lots of frogs and lots of sort of obviously tadpoles. If it can catch itself some worms, but I think frogs would be first prize here, which is probably why the frogs aren't making noise in this particular waterhole. I think herons also come here too. Now, in some cultures, this bird is referred to as the lightning bird. So I hope just because we're seeing this bird, it's not going to bring lightning. But I suppose we shall see. But while we watch the skies for dark clouds, we're going to send you all the way down to Amakhala, where Ralph has still got his Aardvark.
So our Aardvark, he headed down into the drainage line. So we've just wrapped around and we're waiting now, hoping that he'll pop out here somewhere and that he doesn't turn around in the meantime. But he did go down into the drainage. And now it's just, it's an Aardvark stakeout. We've done a few cheetah stakeout this stint here on Amakhala. Now it's time to do the same with this Aardvark. Where he's going to pop out is anyone's guess. So we've just sort of positioned ourselves on a nice part of the road where we can see all the way up that side, and we can also see mostly the way behind us. So wherever he pops out, we should be able to see him one way or another, and then we can hang with him some more. So that is our little plan for now. If we're very lucky, he'll pop out right next to us. That will be perfect, and could give us a nice send-off on our last live drive here on Amakhala for the next, couple of weeks. So while we sit here patiently and wait for our boy to pop out, boy, girl, still not quite sure, let's head on back to the Lowveld.
Yeah, thanks, Ralph. I still can't believe that we're we keep coming back to you and you're still with the aardvark that you had yesterday and the day before or whenever it was. People are going to start thinking it's normal. So just for all of you watching, this doesn't normally happen. I think we'll all in this car agree with you on that one. But we have just left those lines. We're just going to do a little loop around the block, follow the drainage line here. Panda's now decided on his last drive he wants to find an aardvark as well, so I've got my work cut out for me this afternoon. But we've got distracted by this white-backed vulture on one of these massive jackberry trees that are lining the drainage line that these lines are lying in. So we're just going to take a trip along there. Maybe we can find a Sandringham leopard as well. But just notice you can just see to the bottom left of your screen there is the nest of this vulture. And there does seem to be some movement in there, so hopefully we have got at least another vulture chick on the way. Of course, as we've said many times, they are being heavily persecuted at the moment, so always nice to see some youngsters coming through. We'll have to keep an eye on some of these nests, take a note of this one and see if we can follow this youngster's path as he reaches adulthood. But yeah, lots of these big trees lining here, and so I think Steve was saying that you found at least 7 or 8 vulture nests just on the reserve driving around. So great to know they're doing so well here. And I say, with a pride of 23 lions, I'm sure they've got their fair share of food. The other lions that I mentioned, that I got a report that was seen on the other side of the reserve, but apparently they were seen because there was a group of vultures up in the tree, around about 20 or so, and it looked as if they might have got themselves something small like an impala. The vultures very much benefiting from this large pride of lions and their hunting. It'd be nice if we can see a Cape vulture. We do occasionally get Cape vulture in this area, but this is definitely white-backed. Mariska, do vultures have any specific greeting rituals? Not that I know of. Tony, I know you've obviously delved into the vulture conservation side of things as well. Have you ever come across any sort of greeting ritual between individuals?
Not that, but it was quite sort of fortuitous. I was writing a book about vultures called Red Earth. It was actually contacted by one of South Africa's foremost expert on vultures, Andre Butter, who took the rather unusual decision to say, you need to write a novel about vultures. He's a clever guy. He thought we could use fiction, because while my books are fiction, they're based on truth, to help spread the word. Yeah, and so while I was writing that book, a hooded vulture came to land in the jackberry tree next to the office where I work. So I took that as a nice little greeting to me. And Andre told me later it's quite possible they could nest, because they come and check out a tree apparently, see if it's a good fit for them first. But and as you say, it's so wonderful to see vultures with chicks here, because they are in great peril.
Yeah, no, it's so sad as well, because it's not something that a lot of people I think realise that they are in so much trouble, because we do associate seeing them so much of the time. But they seem to be in fairly concentrated pockets. But yeah, as a species, I couldn't give you the specific numbers of what's out there now. But yeah, it's horrifying to think, and of course we all know the reasons why they're suffering with the traditional trade and the poaching and the rhino problems and everything else. But let's hope they make a speedy recovery. They're so important for the bush and the ecology of the area, certainly.
And it was put to me that there are fewer vultures than rhinos. Could be true, but also perhaps disappearing at a faster rate as well too. I think also they probably suffer because they're not, to some people, the most attractive animals.
No, exactly. And that's often the problem. The more high-profile animals get, the dare we say it. But let's have another look at our vulture, and I think whilst we enjoy our final views here, we're going to send you up to the Mara, and I'm glad to report it sounds like they also have some vultures up there.
Wow, lions. Lions, remember earlier we saw that youngster of an Ellie put his trunk up, which I said could have been a sign of good luck. And I think, yes, it was, because we have been able to catch up with the Topi boys. Apparently, yesterday morning or early morning, they brought down a buffalo. Now, this was brought down by the 5, not like the very first 2 we saw last Tuesday, but 1. This is the 5, the main group that have been going together, the coalition of 5, that I gathered brought this buffalo down. You can tell it's freshly done, it's freshly cleared. And I can tell you the wind has really picked up here so much. And definitely those boys are not very far from here. As James was putting his camera there, we had a vulture that was feeding on it, and that was a hooded vulture. Maybe she's coming back in style. I like how these vultures land, like small planes. Not sure she needs to check everything's okay, or she needs to pick any small little pecks of flesh in the grass. Not any other single vulture is around. From a distance, I saw a black-backed jackal, no hyenas, but something tells me possibly the marsh pride could have cleared, or could have helped the Topi boys clear this kill. And if you look to the right, you can see my best or my favorite lion in this coalition coming in, and I'm sure you know who he is. When do you think the Topi boys could be hunting every other day? And I would say so. And they're always led, in general, either by one called Jojo or a second one that is called Moja Moja. Now, he was coming very close to this kill, and then he decided to sit there. Not sure for what reason, but it's because of the hooded vulture. The moment maybe he found out she's not feeding on it, he relaxed. But also the hooded vulture is not taking the chances. She is moving away from the kill. You remember the other day when we saw Moja Moja with the hippo kill, he was the last one to leave the kill, and I was saying, you know, he is full of character. I also said sometimes he is a bit reckless, but a pretty cool boy. The one male who visited the day we saw them as 6 instead of 5 is called Kiongozi, who is a little bit younger by 3 or 4 months than Moja Moja. And as Kiongozi was growing, anytime he would look lonely or a bit low, Moja Moja will always go and sit with him. Pretty cool boy. And there he is. Definitely he's not happy with the vulture. The vulture takes off. Kiongozi is back. Thunderstorms from a distance. Not sure Kiongozi never gets full or what, because he keeps coming back to the kill after everybody else has left. He lost part of his tail to the herders sometimes back.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. This is action-packed.
full name is Maxine Gaines. Most people that know me really well call me Max. I'm a mum. I have 2 boys. One is 16 years old and one is 14 years old. I'm a very, very proud mama of my 2 boys. I've just always been passionate about leopards. I'm passionate about their conservation. I'm just passionate about everything to do with leopards. I love them.
Ah, the bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama.
She's just got an impala, everybody.
Danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Where the other 4 are. The other day we saw one male buffalo, and James was saying after the hippo we saw brought down the other day that they'd possibly bring down that other buffalo, but this is not the one we were talking about. This is totally different, because the one we saw and James thought could be the next casualty is still alive and kicking. Yeah, I would say the marsh girls were here because the amount of flesh eaten in less than 24 hours is a lot for 5 lions. Well, I need to find out where the other 4 boys are, and I do that. Let's go back to Rolf.
So we're still just driving up and down this road where we're hoping that this Aardvark comes out, but we've also just heard that the elephants are coming up to join us as well. So while we wait for him, we've got quite a few animals in the area. There's a big herd of impala, but there's also just up there a breeding herd of elephants that's just coming out of the thicket as well, which is nice. Lovely on this side of the reserve. So Dylan, you know, I'm thinking that it is pretty unusual. I don't know what to think of it. You know, I've had one that was very relaxed on a game reserve that I managed, and it seemed like there was something wrong with it. I don't know if there's something wrong with this guy. You know, they're generally listening out for predators with those big ears of theirs, and more so, they generally run for cover when they hear anything. And I mean, they've been hearing vehicles, they've been hearing people. This one, I mean, not they. And it doesn't seem bothered at all. So I'm hoping there's nothing wrong with it.
Rob was saying when he studied at Ulavane, this one was seen quite a lot there, and he thinks it's the same one.
So Rob is one of the senior guides on Amakala Game Reserve. He said that when he studied here at this local training college, Ulavane, he said that they had seen it, and it was also quite relaxed. So there we go. Maybe it has been almost habitualized by the students. I'm just going to move forward, folks, just so we can get a better view on these elephants, because they are starting to make their way now out onto the open area. This might be lovely, coming towards us. We wonder if maybe these elephants move towards the area that this aardvark is in, that he might disappear. Try to keep away from them. There we go. There's a nice little baby with them as well. They're all coming up on the same path, obviously led by the matriarch. Taking the same route. There's a little youngster. We haven't been able to spend too much time with the elephants because they've been literally fuss or stuck here on this side of the reserve because of all the aloes, I would imagine, and the prickly pears. I really like those too. The jelly bee, they've come out just for you. Nicely out into the open. Oh, I just heard a red-throated wryneck calling. All right, so while we're sitting here waiting for this aardvark, lovely little encounter with the elephants as well. Hopefully they come a little bit closer and we'll get a better view on them. But yeah, the sun is still up and it is the sunset safari. But off you go to Eric.
So we are sitting now watching some zebra on the road, the plains zebra, one of the species that we get here quite, and I often see them standing on roads at this time of the day. Sure, and it does really make them beautiful at the time of day that it is as well, with the way that the sun is positioned very close to the horizon. There's a beautiful orange light on them, and that really does make their colors pop. But also with the road in the background, the open area in the background, you can see more of them. It also does sort of highlight the beauty of them. It's a small little harem. Let's say there's about 5 of them here that we can see, of course, and that's a typical size of zebra groups in and around the Sabi Sand. We did see, obviously, in this last week there were a lot of zebra. Sure, there were maybe, I think about maybe 12 or so.
Oh, wow.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
Some Ellies that we're approaching now.
The light on her as well is absolutely gorgeous.
So we are going to enjoy the rest of this sunset.
Wow, 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 this is absolutely crazy.
And thank you for joining us. For myself and Cam, we will see you next time.
Of the zebra. So if you look at that one, you can see there's two. They're facing, so the zebras obviously are moving from the bottom left-hand side of the screen to the top right-hand side of the screen. And you can see there's a little triangle at the back. You can see the frog. I mean, I can actually, if I get out, I'll show you just exactly how the size of these particular hooves are. They're very, very small. But very, very cool to look at. If I put my ruler down on this particular one here, right, it's about 12 centimeters long altogether. So this is the whole hoof over there. Now a horse's hoof would probably extend to probably about here. Maybe that's a bit wide, maybe a little bit less, but a horse's hoof would be about there. And more or less, I mean, this is a big zebra hoof. I would say this particular one could be a stallion. I think this is definitely a stallion that made this one, because they aren't not usually this big, but that is pretty much more or less what the hoof of a zebra looks like. So they are very, very similar to that of a horse. But we're going to send you over to Ben, who has jumped off the vehicle. So let's see what interesting object or thing he has to show us.
Well, everybody, we are going to go back to the lion shortly, but we've got distracted by an ant lion. So we're still sticking with the lion theme. You can actually see we have an ant and another one here. There's quite a few wandering around, and I saw some little flicks of sand earlier, so there's definitely an ant lion in here. So I'm waiting to see. As you can see, this little ant is trying desperately to crawl out of this pit, and if he's big enough, I'm wondering if this one's a little bit too small, all that cascading grains will alert the ant lion at the bottom of here, who is then going to potentially flick sand on him, cause this little ant to fall down to the bottom where those big jaws of the ant lion are actually waiting. So these are amazing little insects. They will grow up to be eventually what we call lacewings, which look a little bit like dragonflies, but they are by no means as efficient flyers. Often congregate around light sources in the evening, and they have a rather erratic and not a very pretty way of flying. And they also have clubbed antennae, and they fold their wings horizontally along their back as opposed to out to the side like dragonflies. But this little thing in here can stay as the larval form of the lacewing for potentially many years. A lot of it depends on how much food that it is able to find or how many ants it can find. And because ants communicate by pheromones, they've had to develop these very, very clever ways of not distracting the ant. This one has got out and escaped. So let's just see if we can stimulate this one to flick a little bit of sand up. If I'm just going to try and mimic very gently an ant and see if we can get him to flick sand on us. So just little feathery touches trying to mimic something climbing out. Yeah, maybe this one's too clever. So, George, yes, basically that's what happened. They build these pits, but every time they catch an ant, they will then move and build a new pit. Because remember, ants communicate through pheromones, and the smell of dead ant is going to stop other ants from coming into this area. So they'll build a new pit each time they make a successful kill, basically. But they have ways to also stay out of the ants' radar because of those pheromones. So they don't have external mouth parts. They have these big pincers, I'll show you a picture in a minute, that are actually hollow. So they sort of grab the ant with this, inject a digestive enzyme, and then basically suck out the insides of the ants like a straw. So that stops you basically from having ant breath. And then they do produce waste products like anything does, but rather than producing frass, which is what we call insect droppings basically, their Malpighian tubes, which are the equivalent of its insect kidneys, will filter out all the bad stuff and kind of put it in a little pocket somewhere. And only when they shed their skin will that waste product be left behind. So it's kind of like wearing a nappy or wearing a diaper, and every time they shed their skin when they grow a little bit, then all the waste products are left behind. So that way it doesn't have a, dare I say, an active anus, which means that it doesn't smell of dead ant either. So very, very impressive way of dealing with a problem, and they can stay like this for a couple of years. But let's send you back to David, who's got an actual lion, and we're also going to head back to Malawan Dam and catch up with the black dams as well.
Well, ant lions are strictly carnivores, as these lionesses are. Initially, I spoke about the marsh pride, and just had a little, thought that I would have doubted the 5 boys having brought down a huge male buffalo the night before last and have cleaned it on their own. I mean, the other day they just had a hippo, and they did not look very hungry the last time I saw them. Should be yesterday, the other day in the morning, I can't remember very well now. Anyhow, and I just had some thought maybe the females were around, and true to my thought, here we got 3 females of the marsh pride. And now what I'll be trying to work out between the girls and the boys who brought down the buffalo. Either combination is possible. These females have done it before. The boys, that should be a piece of cake for them to bring down a buffalo. We saw Kiongozi and Vuli the other day having brought down a buffalo on their own, just two boys from the Topi pride. And they have been, known to do that comfortably. Just like when at times we see one lioness bringing down a zebra. Now, this sunset drive have been sponsored by Alex Forbes, and we cannot thank him enough for having made this possible to come to your screens. Alex Forbes, from myself, in the Mara, and Big James, we are saying Asante Sana for that gesture. Asante Sana, I'm sure by now you know, is our local Swahili language. That's our national dialect that translates to thank you so very much. We've got a storm building up, not very far from the camp we are in. Not sure James is happy to show you the storm because these lions are flat, and from a distance we can see the storm. Laurie, as James is trying to get you the storm in the background near our camp, you're asking how many females are in this pride. We got 6, and they have 2 youngsters. If my data has remained correct, Laurie, since I've been here, we got 6 of these ladies, and they got 2 youngster boys with them. And Laurie, apparently, I would say the marsh pride and the Topi boys could be distantly related. When we walk back on the family tree of these marsh pride girls or ladies here, and the 5 Topi boys or the 7 Topi boys, they come from the same lineage, way back from the year 2008. I have always thought if cats were to be given trophies, I would imagine the lions would have always won the trophies for laying flat for many hours than all the cats. And because they are de-hygienizing me, I want to go look for some other animals that could be more active. I want to believe elephants with Eric. Elephants are always active.
Oh, we've got some elephants here, or more elephants. And the other day we were observing, or we had two big male elephants down in the dip, just behind these elephants. And we came back later in the afternoon and had discovered that someone had pushed over this marula tree. Oh, look at this lady. Ooh. Found herself a little snack there. This is something elephants love to feed on, is the branches of marula trees. See how she breaks this. Oh, huh? How cool is that? Obviously you do get elephants without tusks, and for them it's not impossible to break things. They just have to they'll use their feet. They'll grab it with their trunk, and then they'll use their foot to push down on it. Pat, tusks is definitely one of the methods to identify the different elephants. Tusks, then cuts in ears, like this lady doesn't have any cut in her ears, the shape of the head, the temple, sometimes even the position of the eyes, size of trunk. Not all trunks are the same length, not all trunks are the same width. Now, elephants have different facial features. You can see this lady is leaking from her temporal glands. It can be one of two things. Sometimes when they are very, very happy, they leak from those glands there. Sometimes when they are stressed as well, they leak from those glands as well. It could be stress as well. Very, very possible. And it's also, in some cases I've noticed it almost looks like it's contagious among some females. So you may see one female who's leaking from her temporal glands. You might see another female as well, or a whole handful of females also leaking from their temporal glands. I think at this time of year it can be a little bit stressful. Looking for food, right amount of food as well.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Full name is Maxine Gaines. Best part of the job, gosh, I just love everything about guiding. I love I love being able to observe animal behavior and animals behaving naturally. So for me, that's by far the best part of the job. And so what we do here at Wild Earth is develop those connections with the people that are viewing, and maybe just light a little spark that says, you know what, I want to be involved in protecting this ecosystem.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature, live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
Can you hear that? The wild is calling.
Much more than a few days, and they have no external mouthparts. They don't even eat. They just mate, and then they die. And sometimes some of the life expectancies of those adults can be as short as 24 hours. A long time to wait for the opportunity. But from antlions to sleepy lions. Dylan, it is a little bit nightmarish, but that's why I love the insect world. It's the one thing I look forward to for summer. I don't look forward to the heat, but I do look forward to all the eruptions of insects. We've seen a few beginning to come out. I've seen some interesting looking sort of bee flies and hoverflies suddenly emerging over the last few days. We had a little influx of plant assassin bugs or nymphs in my house, so we had a little smattering of rain about a week ago. That, coupled with the warmer temperatures and a bit of humidity in the air, seems to have kick-started the bush, and we're seeing it all around. So the warburgs, the eagles, the yellow-billed kites, the wire-tailed swallows, the red-breasted swallows, seeing more and more of these migratory birds. The nightjars have started cooling after dark now, so the seasons are definitely beginning to change. Alright, so we're going to see if we get some activity here, but let's send you back over to Eric and his elephants.
Are we still sitting here watching these elephants indulging in a meal? This lady had a little baby creeping up towards her, trying to see if it could maybe steal a little bit of her branch there. And she didn't chase it away, but she just grabbed it and sort of held it. I think the baby also realized that it's maybe a little bit too big for it to potentially munch on. Some of these little youngsters, they've got to go for smaller sticks. They don't quite have the bite strength. Claire, yeah, there are. Something like a torchwood, you wouldn't necessarily see an elephant going after a torchwood. However, you'll see it pushing it down. I'm not pushing it. Oh, goodness! I'm told no. Stay away here. They'll push the tree, and there'll be seeds that might fall off that they might eat. I've seen an elephant pushing at one of them. But I've got to actually think. I know in Amakala, a milkwood is not necessarily one that you will see elephants feeding on, although they do trash them. I don't know. They do feed on them, but not as as common or as often as other trees, but I think it could well be the milky latex that they're not too keen on. But a lot of fynbos, may not be trees but bushes as well. They might just stay away from altogether. This little one has now found a little bit of a stump. No, not a stump. A little bit of a stick I can try and feed on. And they're more interested in the bark here. But I think the stick itself on the inside comes with the package. Very cool. This little baby just seems to be playing with it as opposed to actually feeding on it. I think it's trying to figure out how it's going to do this. There we go. There we go. Oh, sugar bits, you'll be surprised what you'll see elephants using their trunks for. You'll be surprised. They hold things often in their trunks while they're busy chewing on something else. Very, very often. And you can see this as well, so the tusks are dirty because they use them often for balance. Oh my goodness, well done, lady. It's quite an interesting branch also, that one. But using their trunks for all sorts of different activities. And the tusks as well. Sometimes you can even see a little bit of wear on a certain side of the trunk, especially when you see them feeding on a lot of green grass. You'll see maybe on the left hand side or the right hand side of the trunk, on the side of it, will be most worn or will have a lot of green or chlorophyll on it. And that'll be the side of the trunk the elephant feels most confident using, or the strongest part of the. My goodness, sounds of all the branches breaking is quite nice to hear. Very, very cool. It's almost like juggling it. You're gonna try and break it now. I'm just gonna stick the whole thing in your mouth, just like that. Lexi, yes, they will. So they will basically mirror what mom or sister or aunt is doing. Sometimes even males that come into the herd. You know, elephants sometimes very particular about what they want to eat, and generally will go after, because they have to eat so much, they generally will go after what is the most nutritious and what has the most nutritional value to it. So by watching the adults, they basically learn quite a lot of what to eat and what not to eat. And when you get to the age of an adult, I mean, some of these elephants, they eat non-stop pretty much. They're practically eating all day, every day. So they know exactly what's good and what's not good. By the time they get to the age of 25, they know exactly where to find the best of the best. Maybe not know exactly where, but when they get to, let's say, for example, the age of a matriarch, which can be from about 45 all the way up to 60, they know exactly which. They've got this massive map in their head of the area, and they know exactly where the sweetest grass is, the best trees, all the nice water, and so on and so on. But we're going to send you from our slightly dark and gloomy to a very, very dark and stormy environment, and that is in the Mara with David.
Eric, elephants always good to watch. They'll keep you going. They will be always doing something. Unlike one of the Topi boys here, who I'm thinking this is Joe, and doing not much. You remember earlier saying if trophies or prizes would be given for the cats that nap the most, not sure what Ben, Rolf and Eric would think. I think lions would come out straight winners. Remember, we are coming to you live from Africa. Asking questions is always very welcome. We like talking to you. Should you have any comments, please bring them through. This is one member of the Topi boys, and you can see how close we are. I think we're about 10 meters away, but he is not bothered. So you would imagine we're showing you this on your screens. Being here would be a different ball game altogether. I'm talking of should you be able to come visit Kenya next year in the month of September 2026. From the 6th and 14th, you'd have a chance to be in the Masai Mara, in Amboseli National Park, and another area that has a freshwater lake called Lake Naivasha, very close to my village. And you could easily do that with none other but James Henry. So please, when you get a minute, visit World Earth Travel for more details. This boy is not bothered even by the wind. And I'm trying to imagine, would he by any chance be dreaming? And if he is, do they ever think the prey they bring down coming to them? Or do they ever get traumatized when they're bringing down a big prey like a buffalo? So I have established here we got 3 females of the marsh pride, 3 males of the Topi boys. Not sure where the other 2 are. We have 2 that have not been living or staying with these 5 here. I don't think it's the right time to call them a breakaway from the 7 strong Topi boys. But again, you never know how that will end up. We'll need to follow them for a few more months, and then you can confirm the 2 will form their own coalition of 2, and this will be in their own in 5.
Let's go and take a look. See you out there.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
Would you like to know what an elephant's favorite food is? You could ask me questions like that in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive from the heart of Africa. Over here. Watch Safari Live and connect with nature.
Ah, the bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama.
She's just got an impala, everybody.
Danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Special to witness lions drinking at sunset. And I'd also like to know exactly how many we've got here, because I'm still not quite sure. They're scattered over quite a big area now, probably a sort of a 30 or 40 metre diameter of where all these lions are lying. But you can see there's a little bit more movement now. We've got eyes open, being harassed by a few of the insects that are starting to come out as evening falls. The tails have been swishing, but we haven't seen any of that telltale stretching and yawning that often precedes a little bit of movement. And I thought something would come down and disturb them, and it hasn't been cool today by any stretch. And so since we've been sitting here, we've only had one group of impala and one or two Inyala that came down to drink, but way on the other side of the dam, nothing has come from the side the lions are in. It would be nice if something started to emerge from the bushes, but we will see. Anything could happen. But yeah, hoping to see a little bit of motion. We need one of the females to start having a stretch and just looking a little bit active, and the rest should follow suit. There's normally one female who is the boss female within a pride. Of course, it is more of a, you could argue it's a matriarchal system quite easily. There's often one female who is more dominant than the rest. Sandy, lions will tolerate vultures if there's no food around. I mean, vultures will sometimes follow lions because they associate lions with food. I have no doubt that vultures have been eaten by lions if they can be caught, but that's not an easy thing for a lion to catch a bird. But certainly if the lions had a kill, they'll often drag it under the trees, under vegetation, to keep it out of the way of vultures, so the vultures can't see the kill. Because that will also attract potentially other scavengers, and they'll sometimes, if it is out in the open, go and lie down under the trees, and if they do see a vulture come down and start feeding, they'll often, particularly the male, will come back and try and chase off that vulture, and occasionally they'll catch it, and if he does, I've no doubt that he'll eat it, depending on what they've got there, of course. But they will look after that carcass and try and fend anything off, although you do get some pretty cheeky things like jackals. Yeah, I've seen jackals come up and try and steal a little bit of chunk of meat from one side of a carcass while the lions are on the other side. Those things have got no fear sometimes. But yeah, vultures have also been known to follow wild dogs, and so I'm sure we know from our time in the sands that hyenas have a tendency to follow leopards as well. Don't forget, everybody, we are getting closer. In fact, it's 5:30 now, so it's only an hour and a half till Tony and I sit down around the fire and engage in some casual discussions about his latest book and his adventures as an author. So don't forget to join us, 7 o'clock, for our fireside chat. I'm sure there'll be some interesting things and a chance, of course, for you to ask any questions of Tony as well. I'm sure we'll be delving into some of his conservation research. Of course, African wildlife and conservation, as we've been discussing this morning and this afternoon, is very prevalent in the majority of the books here, and so the more people we can get to read them and be aware of these conservation plights, the better, I say. Because Tony, you've also got some ebooks as well, and if you want to direct people to your website, feel free, go ahead.
I mean, if people are not familiar with the books, if you go to my website, tonypark.net, there's a number of specials for Wild Earth viewers. You can get a free book, a book called Silent Predators, set in this very area on the edge of the Kruger Park, just by entering your email address, half price off ebooks. And also, if you just go to my social media at Tony Park Author on Facebook or Instagram and just comment on one of the Wild Earth posts I've done today, just mention Wild Earth, you can go into the draw to win a print copy of Die by the Sword, the latest books. But it's interesting you talk about conservation. Some of the books touch on things like plants. Cycads are endangered and traded. Abalone shellfish is also being harvested illegally at a great rate. So the whole conservation debate goes much further than things like lions and rhinos, as you well know. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very important point that we try and mention as often as we can. We tend to, or the conservation initiatives are the ones that people want to post, but there are so many things that are in danger at the moment, and the more we can bring to the public attention, the better. So thank you for that, Tony. Look at this one trying to swat away flies. He's given up. You do feel bad for these things. I mean, I get highly irritated by just one fly buzzing around my head, and sometimes these things are covered with them. I don't know how they tolerate it. Right, Tony, we've had a question from Maggie. She wants to know whether, have you got your inspiration to write these books all about South Africa and East Africa from your travelling, or is it just a figment in your head that realises on print?
It's a great question. Yeah, very much inspired by the landscape and the country. And I first came to South Africa in 1995, about the time I was trying to get really serious about writing. And this is when it hit me. Not only did I sort of fall for this entire continent and part of the world, it gave me the inspiration I needed and I think the incentive to write. And when I write a book, I very much write on location. So wherever I happen to be at the time, in whichever country or area location, tends to go in the book. During COVID, I was stuck at home in Australia, where I'm from originally, tearing my hair out, but watching a lot of Wild Earth. And so one of my books, Blood Trail, funnily enough, has a Wild Earth type safari guide.
We won't ask if it's modelled on anybody in particular.
Yeah, but no, the landscape, the wildlife, the people, the stories, the rangers, the guides, the camera people, they all have amazing stories to tell. In one respect, it makes writing thrillers set in Africa quite easy. But the good thing is that even though we do cover, even on Wild Earth and things like the problems facing endangered wildlife and other species, there's always that glimmer of hope, and there's no end of great work being done by people in conservation, protection, anti-poaching. And I really do try and highlight the positives of what's happening in this continent, because like Ben, I'm someone who's come from overseas and chooses to live here, and it's those good news stories that I like to work into a book, and a bit of a happy ending.
Absolutely, yeah, we've got to finish on a positive note. Speaking of positive notes, there's a lion moving. Sorry, Panda, I didn't give you any warning there, sorry. But this one, I think, has been harassed sufficiently by flies now that he's decided, no, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to move around, and flop down again. And there we go. But yeah, maybe there's less flies in that particular area. But still, I'm surprised we haven't seen more movement. So the sun is getting nice and low in the sky now. It must have dropped 10 degrees in the last 20 minutes. But we are going to hope, what have we got? Still half an hour for these lions to come and have a drink. So cross fingers, everybody. But let's send you back to Eric and his Ellies.
Wow, we are still sitting here with our herd of elephants as they're slowly starting to actually really show that they are dismantling this tree completely. Not that the bulls who were already here didn't do that, I just think there's more mouths here, more trunks to do it. sounds of elephants all around us as well. Just to our east, sounds of some grumpy elephants. I think they're going to be coming in this direction, I'm sure. But very, very cool. Then, Pearly, you say you've got your leopard shirt on. I mean, like I said this morning, it's not over till the fat lady sings. We found our leopards towards the end of the safari this morning. I mean, I think we spent 20 minutes, 25 minutes there with it. So we've still got time. We've got an hour, well, just under an hour. We've got 56 minutes left of drive. So there's still time. There is still time. We never know. And now that it's also starting to cool down, you might find that there may be a little bit more movement from these animals, especially as we start heading into the darkness. Now, obviously, with eating wood or branches like this, you know, it's got to come with a certain PSI. So obviously a bite, it's what we measure bite force with, and that's pound per square inch. And an elephant has a 2,200 pound per square inch bite force, which is quite something, because if you compare that to our bite force, which is only measured at 162 psi, it's not very much. But then you look at an animal like an orca, and they estimated to be about 18,000 to 19,000 psi, which is an incredible amount of bite force. In fact, it's actually quite scary how much. I mean, that is quite something. But in terms of animals on land, the Nile crocodile is estimated at about 5,000. They say between 4,500 to 5,000. Shayla, absolutely. No, to be able to do what they do, their teeth have to be strong, and they are big teeth. Elephants have massive teeth, and you know, a whole row of them. Obviously, the ones in the front of the jaw might be a little bit more worn down than the ones at the back of the jaw. Like I said, I think earlier in the week or sometime last week, their teeth start from the back and they slowly start to move forward, almost along like a rail. So as they go through their teeth, they have 6 sets of teeth. As they go through each set, a new set pushes through. So once that 6th set has pushed through, there are no more teeth that come through after that, and that will be at that age between 55 to 65, maybe even, depending on how much hard food they've eaten in their lifetime. You know, it will slowly start to grind down, and then obviously they aren't able to grind down food as much as they could, and it becomes a real story of well, they need to start eating more softer food, otherwise they will eventually start dying of starvation. But look at this dance here. Ray, they do. Flies do bother elephants. I mean, you can see the swaying, the wagging, not the wagging of the tail, but the whipping of the tail. And I'm sure the ears also do help with chasing away flies. But you know, flies will go and bother them by their eyes. It's a lot of salt and water and liquid that they go for. If we didn't have hands to flick away flies, we'd probably deal with it quite a lot. For those that ride horses, you'll notice that flies often bother the horse's eyes as well. You get obviously these little kind of headsets that cover the eyes completely, so it's like a mesh that covers the horse's eyes, preventing flies from really going and getting all up in their business. Noses as well, anywhere where there's a bit of moisture they can get to, and it can be quite problematic at times. But yes, flies will bother every single animal out here, even a chameleon, at their own risk. Risky business doing that. And birds, any animal that eats a fly should not be bothering. However, it is still possible.
Do you want to know why impala are the most common antelope we find here in the Kruger National Park? You can ask me questions like this in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on SafariLIVE. Connect with nature.
And that's it for this morning's drive.
She's just got an impala, everybody.
And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
Out here, every wild moment counts, and as a wild earth explorer, you will not miss out. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7, and you can even rewind if you have missed out on something. Enjoy the behind-the-scenes video clips as well as fireside chat, or get the early offers on our travel experiences. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Okay, so we're going to head on up the hill, leave the Bushman's River Basin and head into the western side of the reserve, but you're heading to the east and back to Ben.
Yeah, elephant dung is surprisingly effective. Actually, no, yeah, I agree. Sort of incense. I always get the smell of sandalwood when you burn elephant dung, but it does indeed keep the mozzies and some of the flies away. What I also discovered the other day is that I was chatting to someone about tsetse flies, having been up in Tanzania and worked in Tanzania and been subject to tsetse flies, which are really rather unpleasant. They're actually what we call ovoviviparous insects, which doesn't happen very often, which basically means they give birth to seemingly live young. So whereas most insects will lay little eggs, and in most cases they offer no sort of parental care towards those eggs. Occasionally we do have some insects that do so. Twig wilters, strangely, are an insect that do sort of chaperone the eggs, but look after the eggs a little bit. But tsetse flies' eggs develop inside the body, and the pupa, or the maggot, I suppose, if you want to call it that, develops inside the body, and then the tsetse fly female actually gives birth to a live adult flying tsetse fly. I don't think there are very many insects that practice ovoviviparity, as it's known. We more commonly discuss it when talking about snakes and things. Puff adders, example of that. So it's giving birth to seemingly live young. But you can see we haven't had much motion. We've got lots of twitching going on. The flies and the insects are definitely starting to bother these lions now. We've had a couple of them sort of swat away with the paws, but nobody seems to be willing to take the plunge and actually start rousing themselves from the slumber. We just need one to start, and then it's that sort of domino effect, particularly if one of the adult females starts getting a little bit active. We should see the others following suit very, very quickly. But I was enjoying looking at that one's paw. He's had a bit of a itchy leg syndrome, this one. He keeps twitching all over. Bundu Bash Tony says that they are a huge fan of you and have read the majority of your books. Nice to know you've got some fans watching.
Thank you very much. Good to hear.
Hopefully you've read the new one, Bundu Bash, as well. Die by the Sword. If you haven't, tune into our fireside chat to find out more about it. But look at that foot. I love seeing lions' paws. I think because we spend so many hours as guides staring at the floor, trying to follow these beautiful impressions, and it is a really pretty track. I think a leopard track may be a little bit prettier than the lion track, but I've seen so many tracks that I always enjoy actually looking at the structure of the pad itself, and you can see the thing that's actually created this mark on the floor that you spend probably collectively years of your life following, hoping to find the offending individual. And it makes you wonder how many kilometers have trodden underneath those paws and how many will be trodden, and the adventures that they're going to get into. Ringo, I don't know if you could say there are areas that lions could choose to avoid flies. You know, a lot of it's to do with the surrounding area, the environmental conditions. It won't be so bad if it's windy. On hot days you're going to have more flies. So I don't really think so, especially if there's around a kill. I mean, you're going to expect a lot of flies, but you do in some places get lions who climb trees to get away from the flies. I've seen lions in trees before, but more coincidentally, occasionally chased up there by a couple of hyenas or something. But I've never seen the well-known sort of tree climbing lions, which you get in certain areas of Tanzania and also in Zambia. I mean, Tony, I know you're incredibly well travelled. Have you seen any of those prides where you sometimes see like 5-10 lions dangling out of the trees?
Just a brief glimpse in Queen Elizabeth National Park in Uganda, one of their sections. They also
Uganda,
have
that's right, yes,
tree climbing lions. And then we saw some lions not far from here, or actually in the Sabi Sands, trying to get a leopard or the leopard's kill, and that was a very clumsy attempt at getting up. And it was funny, it's like a cat getting stuck on your garage roof or your roof. The climbing wasn't too bad.
I don't think the fire brigade's going to be
getting down was quite an issue for them, so it was quite funny to watch.
Yeah, I remember one time when I was working at Sabi, let's actually pop the other camera on. One time at Sabi, just outside the lodge, we actually had a leopard in a tree with a kill, and yes, then lions suddenly realise that they can climb trees when there's food involved, and this male lion shot up, I think it was Jacoberry or Burbine up there, chased the leopard into the top part of the branch, and he then lay there dismantling this impala just like a leopard across a nice horizontal branch.
Amazing.
But yeah, getting down as you said, the weight, they can't control those paws of theirs, or can't take the weight on those paws like a leopard, and yeah, it's sort of inch fall is pretty much the normal way down. But I've seen pictures of those ones in Uganda as well. That must have been pretty amazing to see. And it's for the flies as well.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and it's funny. One of your listeners mentioned the benefits of elephant dung. Nicola and I were travelling in Zambia in the South Luangwa National Park. Also, quite bad tsetse flies there. In our very old vehicle, you wouldn't want to try it in a new vehicle. But we worked out we had no aircon, so we had to have the windows open, and we got an old fruit can, an old peaches can, and we put in just a little bit of elephant dung in the can and lit it, just enough to get a little bit of smoke going inside the car. As you say, not entirely unpleasant, and it kept the tsetse flies out, but you have to get the mix right, otherwise
you're not going to be able to see anything as you're driving.
If you don't have enough, you get infested by tsetse flies through the open window. So there's some natural remedies that definitely do.
A unique skill, obviously, yeah. All right, so let's have a look. These lions have not done much yet, but we're still going to hope. And I think in the meantime, we're going to show you a highlight of, I didn't quite catch what, but a highlight of something.
There's one going up. This one's going to get there. Indeed, okay. How did they find this? Did they pick up the scent? Now that one's growling a bit at the others, warningly. The leopard would undoubtedly have heard this, so he's probably looking on in a bit of dismay. There's still more coming, including cubs.
Right, there you go. It was a highlight of the Black Dam Pride climbing the tree to get to that leopard kill, and Panda has just been telling me what happened because he was on camera for that sighting. But I believe it was a fairly slanted tree, so it made it a little bit easier for the lions to climb up there. But so it's one thing to remember. I've seen lions scale like a big marula with no branches, just straight up the bark. To get into the branches to escape hyenas and things, so they can if you want to. So you're welcome to try and climb a tree to get away from a lion. I honestly think the best thing you can do is climb up and then get down really quickly. Okay, sorry Jared, I didn't quite hear where I was supposed to send us next, but we're going to go elsewhere.
Our elephants moved off the road, or they moved away from the tree, and then they went off the road and we followed, and then they cut as if they were gonna maybe come to the open field, which is quite close to this pan, Jack's pan, and they have obviously come down here, but we came here to meet them here, and they came running down to the dam. Quite funny. They smelt the water, and immediately the speed picked up. And, this one, are you going to walk across? No, probably won't. You never know, might think about it. You can see the big female in the background. They're looking around for any threats. You know, water holes can be dangerous. Oh, what happened there? Shoved by a sibling, or another Ellie. Kate from quite a few kilometers. You know, I think it's up to maybe around between 20 and 30 kilometers, could be more, depending on the direction of the wind. They can smell the water. It's quite a distance, and obviously they have a very in-tune sense of smell when it comes to these type of things. I mean, even male elephants can smell females who are in estrus from up to 30 kilometers away. And that's why the estrus, the cycle is so long, because she wants to be able to attract as many males to her surrounding as possible, so she can make the choice as to who she gets to mate with. Obviously she wants to mate with the biggest, the strongest, and the elephant with the best genes.
We'll see you out on the safari.
It could be a very exciting morning.
Would you like to know at what age a buffalo calf gets its horns? These are questions that you can ask me in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on SafariLIVE and connect with nature.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour. All moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
We are here with a male leopard.
The male elephants, Balara and Afstat as well. They've gone directly to where the borehole water comes out, and they've sucked and sucked and sucked and sucked all the nice water that's still in the pipe, even if the borehole was closed. Still water in the pipe. They're pumping it themselves. Actually hilarious. Quite often they now, after sort of having a little drink, they stand around and kind of decide what they're going to do from here. Matriarchs decide, okay, well, we're going to head east, or we're going to head west, or we're going to go back to where we were. Very rarely do they actually go back to where they came from. Most of the time they actually end up heading in a different direction. But we're going to send you to Amakala, and see what's happening all the way down there with Ralph and Morgan.
So we've managed to come across a beautiful sighting of a white rhino. Just look at that. Grazing in the open. Some red-billed oxpeckers about. This one looking in fantastic nick. The sightings have been a little bit scarce over our 3-week stint here. I haven't seen too many at all. Nice to finally get one out in the open and close to us as well. Happily grazing. Serious bulk grazers are the white rhino, spending much of their lives with their heads down like this, eating grass. And just like the aardvark, these are keystone species, like the elephants would be, ecological engineers. They have a very big impact on the ecosystems in which they live in. They also utilize middens, and so defecating, urinating on a similar spot. Sarah, thanks for your comment. You haven't seen rhino for a while. Yeah, just like us. We haven't seen, well, we have, but not many. They've been few and far between. Maybe it's been the cold weather and cold wind. Maybe they've been hiding up in the thickets. Nice and warm today, though, so they're showing themselves. Walking tanks. And for me, prehistoric mammals. That sun has now just gone down over the horizon. So we truly are in that last little bit of the golden hour before it starts slowly getting dark now. So Inga, yeah, bulk grazers are not as selective as the selective grazers would be. They do prefer certain species of grass, but they're not as picky, if I can say that. And they just, you know, often, you know, white rhino do really like couch grass or Synodon dactylon. That's one of their favorite. But, you know, they'll eat a whole mix if they move into the areas where there is couch grass. They're not too picky about what else gets consumed as well. But I've often found certain reserves that I get to know very well and intimately, is that when we can't find the rhino, we normally go and look for them in the areas where there's good couch grass availability. And very often we find them there, grazing on that. So I think that probably is their favorite. But they'll eat a range of grasses, the Eragrostis, love grasses, intermixed with that Synodon dactylon, or as some might say, Synodon dactylon, you know, but tomato. See that oxpecker catching a ride on just between its ears. They very often climb in the ears. It's where there's normally quite a few ticks in there. There it goes. That's where the skin is softer, I would imagine, and the ticks can penetrate easier. The birds go in search of them, but then very often I think it's probably quite ticklish for the rhino. They sort of try and flick them off as well. There's a starling hitching a ride as well. The starling more so just waiting for the rhino as it walks. It's kicking up the, you know, the insects are trying to get out the way of being squashed by those big feet. I think that's what the starling is making use of. And a lot of birds like wagtails will also do that. So lovely sighting this of a rhino, but as the sun's gone down, I think we're going to head and keep going in a westerly direction. And while we do that, off you go to Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. Always nice to see a rhino, and I imagine that was a beautiful sighting with sunset and a rhino amongst the flowers. Well, our black dam pride have threatened once or twice to move around. In fact, having said that, I think one, Pandra, I don't know if you can see this one, it might be behind this little tamboiti for you, but I think one is actually having a groom, which is about as much of activity as we have seen. You can just see him through the tree there. Let me just move forward a touch, because we really need one of these females to pop their heads up. We had one briefly, she lifted her neck up just above ground level and sort of had a look around and then flopped back to down. But this is the most activity we've seen. We really need one of the adults to start things going, but maybe, just maybe, this promotes a little bit of movement. Because unfortunately, even though we've still got about 20 odd minutes left of drive, because of our fireside chat, Tony and I have to go back and do hair and makeup and things to get ready for our half an hour of fame. So at least we've got one with the head up. Looks like one of the young males. Of course, we are now in infrared light. The sun has certainly disappeared from the sky. It's getting darker almost by the second. We're beginning to hear some insects, some nocturnal activity, but this is a good sign. Little bits of grooming. We just need to wait for one or two others to get the message, and then let's hope that they file across to the water. Ooh, good scratch behind the ear. Tomek, that is a very good question, and it's something we've wondered about before. I know we've had this discussion on Live at the Waterhole a few times as well about whether or not lions dream. It would be fascinating to know to what level, if it's just a sort of basic instinctual stuff, but you know, we are pretty convinced that dogs and things dream. You can see them chasing things and making funny noises and wake up sometimes a little bit startled. So I'd like to think that they do dream, but whether we'll ever know for sure, I'm not sure. And I imagine, well, what would they dream about? I can only assume chasing things, but I wonder if they have good dreams and bad dreams. Do they dream about getting chased as much as they dream about chasing things? It would be fascinating if we ever get to the point that we could actually find that out. And I wonder if they remember their dreams, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that quite often you wake up from a dream and it's as clear as yesterday's memory in your head, but then half an hour later you've got nothing left at all. You wonder if they take any of that with them. But I imagine it's fairly, I would say primitive, but instinctual dreaming if they do. Pop the head back down again. It doesn't seem as if that little flurry of activity has prompted anybody else, unfortunately. That is a lion who is not showing particular amounts of activity. Tony, Joy in Hong Kong would like you to remind her the name of the book about the vultures that you discussed earlier.
Yeah, thanks, Joy. That book is called Red Earth, and it's set in KwaZulu-Natal, whereas a lot of my other books are set more around perhaps the Kruger area, some Zimbabwe, Zambia. So it was an interesting one for me to write because they also have some very nice game reserves down there, Umfolozi, Troslui. Yeah, so it was an interesting one to write, Red Earth, that one is. And I certainly learned a lot about vultures from doing the research. It's one of the fun things about being an author is it gives you an excuse or an extra drive to get out there and learn more. And I certainly learned a lot. I've learned a lot today from Ben being here today and from Panda and their experiences. And I wouldn't be too surprised if something of this drive ends up in a book in the future.
Oh, we've had some activity. We've had some Egyptian geese have landed in the dam. Let's see if that promotes anything. But it doesn't look like it at the moment. But yeah, KwaZulu-Natal is a nice place to be at. I worked down there for a while, very hot and humid, but very interesting vegetation type. I'm trying to remember, I don't remember seeing a huge number of vultures when I did work down there before. But we were chatting earlier about, I was in the park the other day and saw a couple of white-headed vultures, and I've seen a few white-headed recently, but I honestly can't remember the last time that I saw a lappet-faced vulture, which is a shame because that really is a magnificent bird. But yeah, let's hope that their numbers continue to recover and all the good work and conservation work that is being done for them, and people like yourself raising awareness does what needs to be done.
Even our hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. This is action-packed.
Would you like to know the difference between a male and a female wildebeest? You can ask me questions like this in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on SafariLIVE and connect with nature.
Wildlife spectacle on planet Earth. We'll see you there.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. You'll gain access to the channel ad-free. You can rewind and rewatch sightings and gain access to our live Tuesday safaris. There's also behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and every SafariLIVE episode, whenever it suits you. It's just the best way to connect with nature.
The puffed up trunk, the vocalizating, and also the charging. So they kind of, the head shake. A head shake is also always a good tell. But sometimes when they deliver the head shake, it's not always because they want you to kind of, get out their way or move. Sometimes the head shake is just, something You know, dogs tend to shake sometimes. Maybe there's a bit of dust that they don't want on their head anymore or something like that. So elephants sometimes head shake just for the sake of head shaking. Wondering what tomorrow is going to bring. Wondering how long if the rain does grace us with its presence, how long is it going to grace us with its presence, and what is it going to look like tomorrow morning? I guess we will cross that bridge when we get there. For the meantime, we'll deal with what's happening now, and at the moment it is dark. It's time to bring out the spotlight, see what we can find. I'm still waiting for my porcupine and honey badger. And here some thickneys. Derek always 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. It's difficult to tell if you can't hear the thunder, but ooh, it's definitely on the horizon there. I'd say maybe 30 kilometers away from us at the moment. We've been watching the storm sort of come from the west slowly towards us, but yeah, it depends. It depends. If you can hear the thunder, I've always been taught that the rule of thumb is 1 Mississippi is a kilometer away. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, there's the thunder. So maybe like 3 kilometers away, and that's basically how we've worked it out. We're going to send you to Ralph, see how the weather is like down in the Eastern Cape.
Well, the weather has been much better today, that I must say, in comparison to probably the majority of the rest of the time. It's been very cold. We've had the odd warm day, and today was nice and warm as well. So nice way to end our little stint here on Amakhala. We've had an excellent 3 weeks. I think spending an amazing amount of time with the cheetah. I think we had 8 or 9 drives in a row with not only the 3 amigos, but also a female cheetah. So spend a good amount of time with her. She had a couple of attempts on Dacre while we were with her. She just wasn't able to get them. And so that was amazing. Then obviously this Aardvark has probably been the highlight, something very special indeed. We spent a little bit of time, not a hell of a lot, but we had the whole pride of lions together, which is the 3 females and 1 male. As of course we have to get shouted at by Hardy Dar, as yeah, you have to be. But yeah, so, and also the elephants, seen them as well. The surrogates that we got to spend a little bit of time with around their den site or their bolt hole. Yeah, so I definitely have to say number 1 probably has been that Aardvark. I would then say spending time with that new female cheetah, and number 3 spending time with that family of surrogates at the bolt hole. What's your top 3, Morgan?
Other than that Hardy Dar flyby.
Hardy Dar flyby.
Definitely Aardvark and Aardvark.
Right, so Gabby, you're saying excellent stint. Well, thanks a lot for having us, Gabby. Morgan says Aardvark, and that all comes after Hardy Dar. And I'm saying Aardvark, new female cheetah, and the family of surrogates at their bolt hole. I think I want to spend some more time with them when I come back. I want to spend some more time with that female cheetah and hopefully get her hunting. And of course, who could miss the 3 Amigo cheetah? So Leo, I'll take it, being the Aardvark man on Wild Earth, but there are some guides here on site that have probably spent a lot more time with it than me, so I couldn't claim it as the ultimate overall Aardvark man, but yeah, I'll claim it for now here on the Wild Earth television and the pictures that we've been able to bring to you, so I'm happy you've all enjoyed it. That was it 3 days in a row? No, 2 days in a row, but we've had him another time. So we've had him 4 times in total. And it's all been on afternoon drives. And I wonder if he'll still be around when we get back. Time will tell. We'll see you next time.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. I grew up mostly here in the Lowveld. I grew up here pretty much on the southern side of Kruger National Park, a place called Marlow Park, for most of my years. Something surprising about myself, I did play drums in a band for many years. Best sighting I presented, we found Palumba and the 2 cubs, and the cubs are just way big.
This is brilliant.
Real, you say the best kind of roadblock? Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls.
Out here, every moment counts. As a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and early access to travel offers. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family. It can be quite nice and easy to see it. Obviously, because we've got the clouds, it got dark very quickly. Very. Usually it gets dark and you can kind of think about maybe using the spotlights or maybe turning the headlights on. No, we didn't get that option. It got dark immediately. Sorry. There was an elephant alongside the road. I only noticed when he was about here, and that was probably the big boy that we had earlier. This earlier, well, one that we started with. It's only made it to here. J-Dog, it's a good question. That I've seen an elephant sort of not bite down, but it sort of like lightly clamp down on his trunk. And then there's another one who he wasn't feeding. He was just sort of, I don't know, playing with his trunk, and the trunk was in the mouth. It kind of closed his mouth, and then he kind of, the trunk sort of hung out like this, and he was moving it around as if it, like the trunk itself was trying to get out of his mouth. It was very weird, but I've seen it before. But biting their trunks, I don't think biting their trunks happens when they're feeding. I think, you know, a lot of the time the mouth is open, and they almost like throwing the food or shoving the food into their mouth, and then once the trunk has been pulled away, then they start the chewing process. But oh, very interesting. I'm sure it's possible. I don't think it hasn't happened before. I'm sure it has maybe happened, and that elephant has learned a very, very hard lesson, because now they gotta use that trunk to pick up something, but now it's sore. It's like once you've bitten your tongue, it's very sore to now try and use your tongue again. You got to kind of like not take a bit, but it kind of, I suppose it must hurt if you do too much. We are going to the dip of the Malwati. Chris, I have no doubt in my mind I will be known as the elephant fan. I take that title and I cherish it. I love my elephants across the board and across the different locations. Even when they are grumpy. So, goodness me. But what a change of events, huh? What a strange evening. Really hoping we could have found Langa again this afternoon. She must be, I think she maybe either walked down the drainage, either sort of, what's the word? She would have either walked southwest, or she would have walked north, or she would have walked east up the drainage towards maybe Chitwa Dam. It's going to have a drink of water. It was warm, but no, I think it depends. She could have gone pretty much anywhere from there, but it's still nice to be able to see her, because the last time we had seen a leopard was last week Monday, so almost the full week of just lions and elephants, which I'm not complaining about at all. Very, very happy to have seen the lions that we did see. But we're going to send you over to Ralph and see what's happening down there in Amakhala, and if there are any last minute surprises.
Elephant man to Aardvark man. Yeah, thanks Eric. And obviously folks, now you get to see my ugly mug just before the end of the show, so I wish you all the best with that. But thanks everybody for joining us for the Sunset Safari. Remember, tomorrow there won't be any sunrise safari or sunset. It will be coming back on Tuesday. We won't be back though, just a small break on Amakhala, but I believe that Mabula will be back, so still lots to look forward to, and you never know what's going to happen out in the bush, so please join in for the sunrise safari. The sun is now fully set, and not only on today but also on our stint here on Amakhala. So it's been wonderful, but as always, all good things come to an end, and we'll be back live here after 2 weeks. I won't. I'll be back in November. So if you want to see this face again, you can either visit me in Port Alfred, or you'll have to tune in November, and I'll be back on Amakhala. So thanks a lot. It's been real. I've really enjoyed myself, and it's been cool enjoying it with Morgan as well. His chicken wings are out. It's still reasonably warm. Hopefully it stays that way. We'll see you again next time, folks. Cheers for now. That's us. Bye.
Well, good morning everybody, and welcome back to another sunrise safari where you are live with us right now in the Sabi Sands as we watch a couple of elephants making their way through the thicket. Hello everyone, my name is Eric, joined by Khat, who is on